Welcome to Together in Style. Today I'm going to share with you a great recipe for an apple molasses cookie. I happen to be really fond of molasses cookies, and I know my husband's going to be thrilled that I'm baking cookies today because he's such a cookie monster. But the ingredients are so perfect together and they make a fantastic cookie. So we have some dark brown sugar, we have some really great spices together that really work well. We have cinnamon and ginger, ground cloves, and also some nutmeg. So those spices together are just perfect. And I'm gonna use applesauce along with some vanilla, real apples, and we can't forget the molasses because this is what makes the molasses cookie the molasses cookie. So my first step is I'm going to take 5 small apples and I'm going to cut them into small little pieces. They're pretty small because they happen to be coming from some apple trees in our yard, so they don't necessarily get all that large. So you're gonna have to decide based on the apples that you purchased or you happen to pick how many or how much you might wanna have. But I'm gonna have 5 in mine. So you wanna cut the apples in really tiny, just bite-sized pieces. They're delicious. But I noticed that when I was cutting everything up, I had 1 apple left over, so I actually only needed 4 apples. You do want to cut up about 2 cups of apples, just in really tiny pieces, so I'll put that one back where it belongs. So now we're on to the KitchenAid. So let's make the dough. So we're gonna first start off by putting the 2 cups of apples into the bowl. Perfect. And now I have some applesauce. Now this is important because most cookies you need some kind of an oil. So instead of using oil, I decided that I was gonna use applesauce. And a lot of times when you're baking a cake or you're baking cookies, you can substitute applesauce for oil. And it's so easy to remember because if you need a half a cup of oil, you need a half a cup of applesauce. So that's exactly what I'm going to use right now, a half a cup of applesauce. And we have our vanilla. So there is 2 teaspoons of vanilla in that. And we have our spices. So we have 2 teaspoons of the cinnamon. We have a teaspoon of each of the other spices. The ground ginger, the ground clove, and also the nutmeg. So we're gonna put that all in there. And I also have a cup of firmly packed dark brown sugar, so we're just gonna pop that in there. Great. 1 egg. We have a teaspoon of baking soda. And we also have 2 cups of flour, just all-purpose flour is fine. So we're just gonna pour that right in there. And I mentioned that we have some cinnamon and sugar, but I'm actually gonna save this until the dough is made so we can roll the dough and then roll it right into the cinnamon and sugar before we pop it in the oven. But this recipe would not be complete without our molasses. So I'm gonna just open this right up. Ooh, nice and dark and delicious. And I'm gonna take a half a cup and just pour that right inside. Totally reminds me of the holidays. Such comfort food. All right, on to the mixing. So I'm gonna take my mixing tool, pop that in my KitchenAid, and of course lock it down. And start it up. I'm just gonna start it up slow just to kind of get everything mixed together, and then we'll speed it up. Ooh, that looks really good and smells really good, but it doesn't quite look like the cookie batter that I was dreaming of. It's obvious that I'm gonna need to add in some more flour. Depending on the time of year, if it's humid out, or it could be even the elevation that you're living in, sometimes you do need to modify things just to make them better. So we're gonna add in just a little more flour until I like the consistency. The The nice thing about adding just a little flour at a time is that you can see the consistency, and I can already see it getting better. I want to be able to roll these cookies, so I do want the cookie dough to be a little bit on the thick side. Almost there. All right. So I actually ended up having to add in about another cup of flour, so it totaled 3 cups of flour for this recipe. I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator to have it cool down for about 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna roll them into little balls and into the cinnamon and sugar and pop them right into the oven. All right, now that the batter's cooled off and it's been in the fridge for about 20 minutes, I'm just gonna wet my fingers so I can roll the dough into a nice little ball. Then we're gonna put it into the cinnamon and sugar. And now these cookies are just like ginger snaps, so they're not really fluffy cookies, they're gonna flatten out. So you wanna make sure that you have enough room in between each cookie so they don't stick together. The cookies came out of the oven. The oven was on 350. It only took 8 to 9 minutes for each batch to come out, and they looked fantastic. They smelled great, and I can't wait to try them. I know they're gonna go fantastic with my morning coffee. The texture is just like a gingerbread, but it's amazing. You can taste the apple right inside. These are delicious. And yes, perfect with coffee. So from me to you, enjoy these cookies together in style.